Put on your hat, driving gloves and suit as we all get aboard the Battle of the Ports Densha de GO 2 Kosokuhen Express. Starting off with the arcade game from Taito, which hit the arcades in March 1998. The rules of Densha de GO are pretty simple, yet difficult to master. The player is given an allotted amount of time to bring their train into the next station, as well as a fixed time that the train was expected to arrive. If a player goes around the curve too fast, stops suddenly, or incurs other such dangers of train operation, a few seconds are taken away from the remaining time they have to complete their task. You probably know that Japan's rail system is famous for being on time, which is also represented in this game. Each second you are late, you are deducted a point. Make it to the station right on time to the very second and you will get additional points. Years ago I was a master of this game, but these days I've lost my touch. But as you can see here, I'm still reaching the station on the dot. Now you've probably noticed that the footage is rather janky. Well, that's because emulating this arcade game is tough on my setup due to MAME not really being optimized. Plus the graphics are rather weak for an arcade game, and that's because it runs on Taito's JC System Type C hardware, which is basically like a souped up PlayStation, although it isn't technically a PlayStation based system. The first port went to the PlayStation 1 year later on March 18, 1999. Straight away we can tell that this is running in a lower resolution to the arcade game and with less detail. However, overall experience is probably better due to the game now being far more responsive. The PlayStation port also comes with extra tracks, including one of the Sonic trains from Hakata to Kokura, running on the worst train line in Japan for delays, the Kagoshima Honsen. I know because I take the train from Kokura to my home every day, and often suffer because the train to my home is reliant on the Sonic arriving on time, so it can use the same platform. Anyway, the extra tracks are a welcome addition here. Not only that, but we also get a music video of the Kodama Snow Shinkansen. Sadly the arcade opening is not present, and instead we get an FMV opening. Still, for train fans, I'm sure it's pleasing.
本線出発進行第二併設進行
京浜東北線快速大宮行きです。上野までの途中の停車駅は田町、東京、秋葉原、上野です。次は田町に停まります。
場内進行
まもなく田町です。
制限75田町排除
Windows owners also received a port developed by Taito, and it is a direct port of the arcade, meaning that it keeps the arcade voices for the conductor and so on. These were changed on the PlayStation version. Sadly, this also means it's missing the extra tracks found in the PlayStation release. It is funny that this PC version looks so much nicer than the arcade game as well.
Densha de GO!
The Nintendo 64 port, known as Densha de GO 64, obviously, hit the stores on July 30th, 1999. Unique to the Nintendo 64 version is a beginner mode which allows 999 seconds for the player to complete either the training course or practice course. Sadly, this version does not have any of the JR Kyushu trains on it, but it does have some Osaka area tracks to drive on. First impressions were not good due to the interlaced graphics and really weedy music. However, once the game starts, the N64 port of Densha de GO 2 is extremely good to play. The controls feel spot on, the tracks move smoothly, and the N64 fog is actually put to good use on the snow stages, giving them an extra bit of atmosphere that the other versions don't have.
本線場内進行四つ小屋通過中継進行本線出発進行停通第二並走進行
電車で GO!
1999 also saw a couple of handheld ports, starting with the WonderSwan version, which hit Japanese stores on October 7th, 1999. Now obviously this is going to be somewhat cut back from the regular versions, but what we have here is a reasonable playing version of Densha de GO 2. I do wish the cartridge size was larger to allow for more frames of animation, since it does look a little jerky at times. I do like how there are samples of audio taken from the arcade game, but again, a larger file size would have allowed for more speech. After all, Beatmania on the WonderSwan has all the vocal tracks of the arcade game.
Densha de GO!
A few weeks after the WonderSwan came the NeoGeo Pocket version, hitting stores on October 21st, 1999. Just look at how smooth this one is. The NeoGeo scaling hardware is being put to very good use here. It's silky smooth. The graphics are also rather good, but sadly the audio is lacking, and even more sadly, so is the gameplay. You see, the NeoGeo Pocket version, while looking fantastic, misses out in the timing that the original game has. It's all too easy to accelerate past your target speed due to the trains feeling quite light. The on-screen information is also lacking at points. Often I can't tell what the top speed I'm allowed to drive at. Also, warning about speed changes are often late, giving next to no time to slow down. It really is a shame, as this one, as I've said, looks fantastic. Not to be left out, on December 8th, 2000, a year after the other handheld versions, the Game Boy Color also got a port. Wow, FMV on the Game Boy Color! Coming to us from Cyberfront, the same company who published the WonderSwan version, we have a very polished version of the game that features some extra tracks from the PlayStation version. Yep, that includes some of the JR Kyushu tracks that I'm familiar with in real life. As you can see, this port isn't even remotely close to the NeoGeo Pocket Color in terms of smoothness, but it does wipe the floor with the WonderSwan version. But how does it play? Well, very good if I'm to be honest. I'm not a fan of how the brake works. I can't seem to tap the button to move the brake, but besides that, it is a very good port with areas that kinda look how they should. Finally back to the main consoles with the Dreamcast port coming out on January 20th, 2000. This version is basically identical to the PC version, which is a shame. With this port coming so late, I would have liked to have seen some of the extra tracks featured on the PlayStation release, but sadly it was not meant to be. And let's take a look at all those versions of Densha de GO 2 running side by side.
ときとまじ